Good morning and welcome to Carnation Crafts. We are live in the Carnation Crafts studio. It's me and Miss Taz this morning. We've got the brand new launch. So we launched this yesterday at 9 o'clock. It has been obviously insanely popular as we expected. This is held in our hearts and it is incredibly pretty. It's based predominantly around the card shape, which is the hourglass card shape. You can just see that on your screen. That is the most stunning, lovely infinity shape. The card is divine and anything we make with it is super, super pretty. Next to that you can see Wing Beat, and that is the wee dove there with the little corner element. Really pretty for doing all of the corner aspects of your card. Can be snipped away so you can use the two elements separately. So it's a little bit like having two in one, which is always good. We have got the bloom of butterflies. I'll show you that on the boards because it's something slightly different from Carnation. Very, very pretty. And multitudes of uses for that, not just for card making, might I say as well. That would make really great shadow boxes and home decor as well. You've also got the floral charms, which are these beautiful little florals that sit on like charms as if it's like a charm bracelet. Very sweet and very pretty. There's two big sentiments with this collection, which is Wonderful Life, which is celebrating a wonderful life, and Heartfelt Sympathy, which reads with heartfelt sympathy. On top of that, you've got all of your teardrop flourishes and you've got your broken heart. Now there is an extra set of dies as well, which are the nested dies, and they are just stunning. But what Carnation have done with the Hessian nested dies, they've done it separately so you don't have to buy the both at the same time if you don't want to. So I'm just going to run through the code for the Hessian plates, which are 221110. That's separate. I'm going to go through them all on boards. You're going to see everything separately, but I just want to give you those code numbers. So those dies are £129.99. It's obviously free UK P&P because it is over the £2.95 threshold. Always good to know. You can get those on the Carnation Crafts shop, which is carnationcrafts.co.uk, and they will be shipped out to you the minute that you order them, which is always nice to know. But on top of those, you've got that beautiful main collection. And so this one is held in our hearts. It's more to do with sympathy than anything else. The number for it is 221101. And again, same thing, find it on the Carnation Crafts website. If you're buying anything from today's show, anything to do with Held in Our Hearts, so that's to do with the frames, the nested dies, and to do with the main collection, please do put in the code H1, no, is it HIO?
Held in Our Hearts, HIOH.
It's like hi ho, that's all I can think when I see it. So HIOH10, so it's got a 10 at the end. Do it all in capitals. That'll give you 10% off anything that you buy for this collection today, and 10% is quite a lot of money. So the thing being with this whole collection, it goes in with those nested dies, then the main collection, and your perfect papers. The perfect papers are very, very pretty this time, but that means as a full collection today, it would be a total cost of £244.97. But with that 10% discount, which please do put in, it'll take it right down to you for £220.47. So please make sure to include your 10% discount. Good morning, Pam Simpson. Are you okay, lovely? She says, good morning, Carla and Taz. Beautiful sunny day here. It's actually quite nice here as well. Linda Wilson, hello lovely, are you all right? And Karen Vincent, good morning. It is awesome to have you here. It's always lovely to have you here. I'm going to run through the boards. I know some of you have seen these already, but we do like to make sure that everybody gets a fair crack at the whip. I'll go through them relatively fast and then we're going to get on with some demos today. I'll be doing normal demos today. We do have another show tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Good job, she's here. So we've got another show tomorrow at 10 a.m. That one will be focused on composition. So it won't necessarily be set demos in the way that you're used to. It will be looking at how we can play with it in different ways with different shapes and various different things. So we're separating the two out. But the boards, look at this beauty. It's so pretty. All your layers, your base card, your mats, your layers, your filigree, which is what we see here. And then you've got all of these elements as well. So where you see the little sort of dot dashes, that's your dot dashes that come around this piece here. And then you've got your teardrop shapes on top. And it just comes together in the most beautiful way. It's so pretty. Lots of different ways of using it. So what we can do is score it halfway down and have it sort of bent over as such, so that's your full card shape. We can cut shapes into it and use it as apertures, or we can build layers. Lots of different ways of playing, and of course it can be used in portrait or in landscape. Then these little beauties, which are so pretty. This stole my heart the second I saw it. I love it so much. That gorgeous sort of gradient coming through from the blues to the yellow tones, the green tones, everything coming through. It's so pretty. Followed up by this foliage as well. Add them together and create that kind of sort of a bloom, isn't it? A bouquet. We've got the lily, we've got the rose, we've got the daisy, and we've got your white foliage here. This strip's super clever, so you can plait this. You have got one free edge and one edge that is sort of confined. So where you've got your free edge, it means we can weave things together. We can create a full woven background with that. We can create woven corners, or you can use it to hang the charms off from the top of a card. Linda Wilson, my order arrived this morning. Linda, you little corker, thank you for letting us know. They're so good, aren't they, at Carnation? So you tend to order it and they tend to be picking and packing and posting the second that you've ordered it, which is really clever. They're very, very good. They're very in tune with what they're doing. And so from there, we have got Wing Beat, which just purdy, purdy, purdy. Good morning, Serenity. The teeth. There's no teeth. This beautiful corner. So you'll have seen me on lots of demos just snip this off, and then other times I've left it. If I snip this off, I keep it because I can use it for corners for other cards, but either way that you use it, it just looks so pretty. Again, sculpting out those wings, bringing it to life, sort of decoupage elements, all of those things. I'm having trouble with my mouth this morning, Miss Towers. The words are not coming out. Then we've got Broken Heart, which is just very poignant, isn't it? So this heart has obviously got that little crack down the centre. If you don't want that to show, obviously, it's not really obvious, to be honest. It looks part of the design, but you can pop this little one on the top. Just use it as a normal heart. Or if you were to pull those pieces together, you see that break down the centre of it, which is just very, very pretty. Those feathers feathers appear when loved ones are near. Then you've got your flourish backdrops here, which are just incredible. I love this one. This is my favourite. I love the fact that I've got the flowers that I can place on top, and then the little flowers I can place on top of those ones. I love the fact that I've got the extra little flourishes for tuck-ins that I can use to add in to create different dimension on the card, to create things. So if I've got this here, I can use those at the sides to elongate. I can use them diagonally to elongate as well. So I can create all these different shapes from it. And that's just from those little pieces, which I think is insanely awesome. And each one obviously has its backing layer as well, so it can be used independently as a card on its own with a sentiment on top, which is super cute. Lovely for tags, really lovely for tags. And then Bloom of Butterflies, this is just insane. Where's my other bit gone, Taz? Have you stolen it? It's here. I left it down there. So this is your gradient butterflies, which are just gorgeous. So you've got those lighter colours at the top, woven down through into those dark colours at the bottom. The ones at the top are slightly smaller than the butterflies at the bottom as well, which gives you even more of that gradient effect. You've got 3 different colourways, so you've got the blue, the sandstone and the pink, but then we have these templates which are downloadable with your vignettes. So your vignettes are on the Carnation Craft website, so we go to www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. We go to downloads and then free downloads, and in the right hand corner at the bottom there is a little box for putting, what are you laughing at, Taz? Because you're slower than I am this morning on the web. Is it trying to catch up? It's because I talk too fast. You put in Heldenauer hearts and all of your vignettes come up. Please do get your backing papers for this collection. They are stunning. There are also inserts there for you to use for free as well. And you download the artwork to your computer, print it out, and as you print, you obviously pop your dies on top. We have something called a mirrored vignette at Carnation. A mirrored vignette is slightly different to what you would normally get with dies, which is where you have a black stripe down the middle of your printed paper. We fold on that black line and we spray glue the inside, pop your die on top, put it through your machine, and your vignette will have the image both, let me see if I can show you on here, both on the back. Can you see how that's blue on the back as well here? So blue on the back, blue on the front, so it's the same either way that you do it. Serenity says this is such a stunning collection. You're not wrong. It is really pretty, isn't it, Serenity? I want to know what everyone's going to do with the butterflies. This is the bit I'm excited for. When these start poking up in the group, in the Carnation Crafters group, I want to see what you all do with the butterflies, because I think there's going to be some amazing cards that are about to come our way. Miss Taz, were you about to say something? You looked like you were about to...
I was going to ask if we can have a look at the deal of the day, but you're in your swing now.
I'm in my swing. We'll look at the deal of the day when it comes to the end of these boards. Are you going now? Are you going?
No,
Are you going to wait? Are you looking? Are you sneaky peeking? Miss Taz is sneaky peeking. So from here we've got with Heartfelt Sympathy, you've got that gorgeous backing layer, then that really, really stunning... She's found something. Miss Taz has found something. Really stunning font. So we've got with Heartfelt Sympathy. She's so giddy right now. And then next to that, we have got Celebrating a Wonderful Life. It's very hard when we're making sympathy cards at the best of times, and when we don't have the correct tone that we're looking for in order to send. It's such a fine balance, isn't it, when we're sending sympathy cards? We need the right tone, and Carnation absolutely set it. They set it anyway because Carnation are very graceful and gentle. Obviously, why they employ me to be the demonstrator, that's not why they employ me to do it. But they always set that really lovely tone, and it works. But when it comes to sympathy, we know we're not stepping out of any boundaries. We know it's going to work and it's going to be correct. So that's sort of as such, the main collection. That's the Held in Our Hearts collection. That's 221101 on the Carnation Crafts website. It's got a show price of £99.99. That's a reduction from £135.92. It is free UK P&P as well, but please do put in that code HIOH10. That's going to give you 10% discount, and that's going to take it down a fair whack. You can also pay on PayPal Pay in 3, and that's going to give you the option to break up your payments. And there is it ClearPay?
ClearPay you pay in 4, PayPal you pay in 3.
ClearPay you pay in 4, so you get 4 instalments with ClearPay, you get 3 instalments with PayPal Pay in 3, so we can just break that down a little bit, and that's over a period of time. So those options are all there for you on the website. For those of you who are ordering in the USA, just to let you know that your P&P is slightly different. So your shipping and handling is always $4.95 unless you want to add in the perfect papers, and I know most of you do, because the perfect papers are your natural complement to any collection. And so when you order those, the shipping and handling goes to $14.95. And now if you want to swap out the perfect papers and instead put in ProPrint or something like that, you need to just give them the message that that's what you want to do, and that'll all be sorted for you. But that extra shipping and handling does only cover you for 1 pack of paper. Otherwise, obviously, it would get a little bit silly. But just so you know, those options are there for you. Miss Taz, before I move on to the next set of boards, what is the deal of the day?
It's really fun.
What have we got? I get so excited when she does this. Oh, we like the peonies. Yeah, they are. They're beautiful. They're, which collection were they for? Nature in Motion. And for those of you who have just bought, what did we just do Nature in Motion with? Nature's Grace we just did. They will go with Nature's Grace as well. So everything will come together. Let's have a look. Jane says, I downloaded all the colours for the butterflies. Is there the backings in the purple colourway, please? Jane, I assume you mean, are there purple butterflies? So the 3 colours for the butterflies are the blues, the pinks, and it's kind of like a sandstone colour. So there isn't one there in purple. The perfect papers, the butterflies match the perfect paper colours. So the perfect paper colours are the pinks and that kind of sandstone colour, and then the blues. So they match in with those. So I hope that helps. But your backing papers will all be there, and they're all free as well. So having a look then at the nested dies. I've said it before, I'll say it again, nested dies, always your most important. They're the ones that keep us crafting for years and years. This one is something, I've never seen anything like this before, and I was really fascinated when I saw it. You've got your base plate, then you've got a mat, obviously, that you can use in any way, and then you've got this textured piece which allows you to create this Hessian. Now, when you do that, if you were to then use some of the nested dies, so say pop this on here, it's going to make it completely Hessian. It's actually going to look like fabric. which it does look like fabric. We saw it yesterday and everyone was like, no, it actually really does look like fabric. You wouldn't know. And it's because of the detail in it, not just the detailing on the actual die itself, which gives you the sort of crisscross pattern that we expect, but also because of the artwork that goes with it, which has been done in such a way to allow it to have that fabric look, and that it sort of feels, I can't explain it. It's really, really textural. It's beautiful. That's great for back-ins. It's also great for cutting into with various different things. So that's going to keep you crafting for a long time. You're going to be able to use it in all sorts of ways, but also for mixed media. Brilliant for journal spreads, all of those kind of things. And then your most important for me is always going to be your nesteds, like I say. And Carnation, I know it's frustrating, I suppose, as crafters that we can't have a set of nested with every collection that comes out. But obviously that's not tenable. So when we do get them, it's really exciting because they always go the extra mile with their nested dies, and this was no exception. So you've got this beautiful Hessian edge on all of these, and you get the different sets. Now what you can do, for instance, is cut the outside one and then the inside one on the inside, obviously, and you'll have a little aperture here. And we can do layered apertures with them, which look incredible. And then you've got your different playways with that. The little ones are obviously brilliant for sentiments as well. So you've got diamonds, you've got the DL, that gorgeous length shape that's just perfect for so many different edges, borders, and then your main card shape, your mats and your layers. But these small ones are so good for borders, and especially if we start cutting these in, say, mirror card, and we're using them for those Christmas elements. If you cut them in red to use for Valentine's, really pretty for Valentine's cards. It's just got that lovely little edge into it, which is so sweet. Then you've got your rectangle ones. I said yesterday these reminds me of stickle bricks. They're obviously the bigger plates there, and these are probably the ones you're going to end up using the most, I think, because it's your standard card shape, isn't it? So cutting that twice, score at 1/2 inch, and use that as actual, your card base is going to be gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. My favourite is the circles. I love them. I think they're so sweet, and they're so dynamic and sort of in your face almost. But to cut a normal card shape and fold it in half, and then to add one circle on top, so you get that straight line here and then that circle going over the top, almost like a sunrise with this. So pretty, so pretty. So play with your nested dies, experiment with them and see what you come up with, because there's so many ways of doing stuff. You've got your squares as well, so we haven't skipped a beat with shapes. Every shape you could possibly want in a nested die is here for you, and then we go from the squares finally to your ovals, which are just beautiful, and they kind of remind me of placemats. Do you know what I mean by placemats, Miss Taz? It's got that kind of, if you turned it round, like a dinner placemat. Do you know what I mean? It just reminds, because of the fabric edge, it just reminds me of some, or a rug. It could be a rug. And if you use a tiny one, it could be a rug in a Cindy house. Not that I'm harping back to my youth, but they are your nested dies. So super pretty. Now, before I go on to demo, I do want to show you some finished samples so you can see what the DT have been up to, because they have created some beautiful stuff. So I want to show you this one because I want to show you the backing papers as well. It's just that moment where you look at these and you go, wow, these are just so pretty. All of the detailing that comes through. Now, your backing papers are important. And when I always harp on about the backing papers, not least because they're free and that appeals to me, but when you see the backing paper and you can see that wing coming through the back there, that's part of the backing paper. And it means we get a reflection behind. So super easy to use, really gorgeous to use. And then we've obviously got all of your sort of extra artwork, the clouds and stuff going through there. And it's just really pretty how it comes together. A couple of teardrop sort of jewels on there, something really gorgeous. Perfect. This I wanted to show you because how gorgeous is that? I'd be so stoked if I got that. Little jewels to create, it looks like dewdrops on those pieces of foliage. You've got the gorgeous, I love daisies. Daisies are happy to me. Daisies just smack of summer days and prettiness. So I love this so much. And the composition on this is exquisite. We have got this from Sue Dalrymple. Thank you, Sue. And we've used this panel at the back, this oval. So this is one of your oval frames from the Hessian nested dies. Honestly, all of the words have gone away from me, Miss Taz. You've got all of those, and then it's being pressed on that plate as well. So you've got all the Hessian sort of texture coming through, and you can see it all sitting there. Little use of the butterfly there, and then again those Hessian nested. Really, really gorgeous. Jane Latos says, hi Carla and Taz, my husband has just bought me both sets. You are so lucky. I know Miss Taz is looking like she's a bit jealous. You're so lucky. How lovely is that? So thank you very much, Mr. Latos, for being so lovely and kind to Jane. Then here we go with the butterflies. Now, part of what Carnation did this time is give you those templates. And so when I lift this butterfly at the bottom, you can see the image of the butterfly just underneath. Same goes for all, I won't pull it all up because it's a DT card, but you can see same goes for these. So that template is already there for you to use. So we print this on Pro Print paper, which gives us those lovely colours coming through. Do it on a 220 so you've got that solid base to work on, and just pop your butterflies on top. You don't have to think about anything, it's done. All you need to think about is, where am I going to put my sentiment? Now, obviously, this one is celebrating a wonderful life, but this could be any sentiment. On your beautiful day for a wedding, you know, happy birthday for Miss Taz, whose birthday it is this Thursday coming. All of the, she's so excited. I did remember, I know, it's only because she keeps telling me. So you've got that gorgeous kind of S shape coming through. There's lots and lots of ways of playing. Thank you to Fiona for that one. And then here we go. With Heartfelt Sympathy, those gorgeous doves, that beautiful pink of that rose. Lots of ways. This is your hourglass card shape that's coming through. So you can see how everything starts to work together. Now, I'm just going to show you a few more, and then we're going to get on with demo. But look at this. Grab your backing papers. Look how beautiful they are. Look how well they go with your perfect papers. Perfect papers are always going to be your best friend. They're always your best friend with any Carnation set, because you can't go wrong with them. They're designed to work together. The pretty, pretty little butterfly sitting here, and the use of that panel. Little stamp in the corner, just those layers. And we've got the DL from the nested dies, then we've got the rectangle, then we use the circle. So using all of them together, as opposed to thinking, right, well, this is the one that I'm using, we can play and use all the different ones in tandem. That's one I made yesterday. That's one I made yesterday. I won't show you or re-show you all mine, you've seen them. But then these ones, and these are Sue as well. So just wanted to show you these because it's two variants sort of the same technique, which is using those templates. So again, we're going from that gradient going through to the dark at the bottom. Isn't it effective? And I love, love, love the way Sue's used those doves to just go outwards, and then that spray at the bottom. I love symmetry, and that works for me so well. And then just that beautiful template at the bottom. Isn't it nice to see A4 cards? I don't think we see enough A4 cards, and there's something really beautiful about them. And then finally, we've got this one. So it's the same thing. So this is from Sue again. Same thing using that template. Couple of jewels around the edge, but isn't that just really effective? And that use of the white. I love white on white. So this really, really speaks to me because there's something very pure about it. And I love just that little tiny splash of colour with the daisy and the lilies at the bottom. It's so well constructed. So there's lots and lots of different types of cards that we can make with this collection. We're not confined to any specific design. Those butterflies, honestly, the idea of doing those in a shadow box, and you could get the really large shadow boxes, can't you, from like the range and stuff. You can get the really big ones. Can you imagine doing a massive spray of butterflies, and those would just be so pretty. And if you were canny enough and you put some tiny lights in that shadow box as well, so that it all lit up from the inside and those butterflies spraying up, would just be breathtaking. So I'm all about the butterflies, and I can't wait to see all of your makes with them as well. So, I'm all stuck to the things. Let's go in for demo. So my demos are sort of made up. Well, they are made up already, but I'm kind of trying to freestyle with them a little bit as well. But like I say, the main sense of freestyling will be tomorrow when we come back with composition. So please do come back tomorrow, craft with me. A lot of you will have your sets at that point. So what I'll tell you today is, if it helps, I'm going to predominantly be working with an 8x8 card base tomorrow. Just that. And then we're just going to look at the different ways we can use this whole collection to create various different looks. So if you want to get yourself an 8x8 cut tomorrow, we can sort of craft together and play and do. So I'm pretty much sure I'm working on an easel here, because I love easel cards. Easel cards are super easy to make as well, and they're really, really effective. I don't know why that's stuck. Right, so easel cards. I've got a little bit of glue just sticking those together. Easel cards are always done in the same way, and it's something that really confused me when I first started crafting. I couldn't work out how to do it until the very awesome and lovely Janine, who is head DT, showed me how to make easels, and I was like, oh, well, they're really easy. But I didn't realise that. So what we do is we cut 3 pieces the same size, and we're using one as our front cover of the card, one as our mechanism, and one that's going to support everything else. Okay, so this is like my if you think of this as being my floor, that's my wall, and that's my photo on my wall. That's the best way I can think of it when I'm trying to break it up. So what we need to do first is work with the mechanism, and the mechanism is done by scoring in half and then scoring at 1/2 inch. Now you'll see the 1/2 inch one, I've got the red line of tape at the top, and where I've scored at half, that's all at the bottom. So if you look at it in that way, you can see. Now we never put anything in this piece. We don't want anything sticking to that because it's our mechanism, because when that sticks down and this pulls up, that's the mechanism for my easel card. So for anybody who's brand new, that's the nature of the beast. So as it happens, this is going to be my floor on this one. I think, let me get my bearings. Shall I do it this way? I think what I'll do is do this. Look at me being organised, Miss Taz. Let me just take this off here. This is that Hessian plate, which I love. I love texture. I'm somebody who's very tactile, and texture is really important. No, just place that there. Ew. Have I stuck it, Miss Taz? Let's see if I can rescue. I moved too fast, Miss Taz. I moved too fast. I can do it. We can do it. Let me just unstick this bit. There you go. So this is why we always do the little trick with the tabs. So don't do what I do. So I'm just putting that down. That's going to be my floor. So what I'm going to do is place my mechanism on top of it. So that's going to go here, and that's going to lift, and it's going to give me that. Isn't that pretty? Just that beautiful texture on the bottom. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do with this piece, is just lift. And when I'm doing these, I always have to work in portrait. I don't know why. In landscape, sorry, I find it easier. So I'm just going to put those up together, keep that held high so I know that I've got them in place, and just place that on top. And that's got my mechanism exactly where I need it to be. That's scored, so I can pull it back and everything is where it wants to be. But I'm going to keep that flat, and I'm going to now place on my top panel, and it's going to be this. So this is the same size as the other I'm working in. I'm always working in 350 GSM whenever I'm doing anything like this. My mechanism is 350, my base is 350, and so is this. I want the support. I want it to be solid. So you can see it's not massively bendable. It's not too malleable. It's going to be where it wants to. Then I've cut the largest rectangle in the Hessian nested dies, and I've used that as part of my base plate. Then I've taken a different, obviously an alternative colour, so I've gone with the sandstone against the pink in the backing papers, which are super pretty, and then I've just added myself a centre stage with that white on top. So it just comes together in a very pretty way. What I'm going to do is take these off, and I'll just remove the bottom and the top. I don't really need to do the middle as well. And then we're just going to measure, make sure that's pushed to the side, measure top to top. Once I know that that's where I want it to be, I've still got that lifted, I can still remove that any given time. Once I know I'm where I want to be, then I can commit. So I can just push down, okay? And that allows my mechanism to sit. And I've now got my base plate to work on. Really easy, but for those of you who've never made an easel card before, it can seem kind of daunting and kind of confusing, and there's no reason for it to, but I know when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to demo that, it's too difficult. And once you start making them, they're super easy. Do you know what? Starting any craft is hard, right? And starting card making, it feels like you're entering into a world that everybody else knows everything about and you don't. And it feels sometimes, it certainly did for me, I can't speak for everybody, but when I first started, I was like, I can't catch up. I'm never going to be able to get, everyone else is so far ahead of me. How am I ever going to be able to make cards in this way? Do you know what? It's about learning the fundamentals. And once you've gained those, then you're good to go. You're good to go. So take this foam tape off. I love this so much. So the reason that I used the sort of sandstone colour against the pink, I wanted that hint of a colour because I am going to bring a rose into this design. Okay, so I wanted to bring in that tone, but I've got the sandstone in here, so I want to pair those as well. So I'm thinking about composition. So I'm just going to place that on some foam tape and place down roughly central. Okay, really sweet. Isn't that gorgeous? And just like I said yesterday, you need very little on these. That's so pretty just as it is. We're playing with the easiest collection to create the most beautiful and responsive card that we can, because already just in that shape it's something amazing and special. Now I've got various bits. What you need to remember when you're working with an easel, first and foremost, is that you need a stopper, which I've got here. Okay, and your stopper is the thing that's going to stop your mechanism from falling down. And then we need elements to play with. So I've got bits and pieces. I'm just going to bring it all in so you can see what I can see. So I've got a couple of doves, some foliage, those hearts. Now I've got the heart here. I'm going to reflect it back as well on the inside. Now the heart that I've got on the top, which I'm going to use for the surface of my card, I've just used the main broken heart piece and the little tiny one on top with a little bit of foam tape, but I've still got this here. Now I can choose whether to keep it or to lose that. That's up to me as I go through with composition. But in the bottom one, I didn't want to have that. Now the reason being is when I create the mechanism and it sits upright, I'm just going to choose where I want that to stand. So if it was sitting on a mantelpiece, where would my positioning be? And now I'm not going to stick this right now because it'll ruin my card making. But if I want it to be a more relaxed card and I want it to be there, I can put my mechanism down here and it'll stop it there, or my stopper, sorry, or I can place it up here. So it's a choice that we make as a card maker, and a lot of that will to do with how top heavy or how top bottom your card is. If you've got an awful lot of detailing at the bottom of your card, it tends to look better when we have that card facing more forward, because it's you know, very bottom heavy. If it's very top heavy, you're usually better sort of mid-range. If you're completely equally dispersed, I often like to have mine higher and have a little bit more detailing on here. So it depends which way you're playing, and those things are things that you work out as you're creating your composition. But because of that, I can't put that piece because it's going to bend and my stopper's not going to work, so I've just snipped it away. So I hope that makes sense. Right, I'm going to keep those because I'll use them on the inside. I've got my lilies sitting here. I've got 2 lilies, I've got 2 doves, and I've snipped away my edges. Can you see? So my edges are just sitting here, but I'm still going to use them. I'm not going to waste them, I'm still going to use them. And I've got my heart. Now, I like the heart sitting in the middle roughly. I think it's really pretty, but I've got a lot going on. So I've got my 2 doves, and I'm obviously going to put those probably central there. Now if that's the case, I'm already top heavy. I can choose to keep working with that and keep this quite naked at the bottom. It's up to me kind of where I want my composition to be. But what I quite like for this is to use my charms, separate them out. I feel like one of my cats has escaped and is making a noise. I could be wrong, but I think Miss Phyllis is calling me. So I'm going to place those there, and you can see it. What that does is elongates my shape. So if I take that away, it's very, very empty. Can you hear Miss Phyllis? She's so naughty. It sort of leaves that empty space there. If I put it on top, to me it's too busy. I've put too much at the top, not enough at the bottom. So it's just about interspersing where you want it to be. So I'm going to use it that way. What I'll do is just stick those first so they're all intertwined. I love these little charms. See if you were to put those just on a little gift tag. Aren't they pretty? I think they're so clever. I don't think I'm ever going to get over how clever Carnation are. It's always going to be a thing for me. And then we're just going to use a little bit of everyday glue. Was she roaming, Miss Taz?
I have contained the savage beast.
Have you contained the savage beast that is Miss Phyllis? She's very funny, Miss Phyllis. She's like a little comedy cat, and she absolutely loves Dave Bradford. Miss Phyllis has got a proper crush on Dave Bradford. So I'm just spacing those out. I'm going to place down at the bottom. It doesn't matter if they're neat because I'm going to cover it. I'm always covering up my working. Because to me, if I leave that at the bottom of the card, if I just place these down, make sure the glues are adhered. If I leave that, to me, that's all shades of wrong at the bottom. It just looks like I haven't finished. I've done what I wanted to do. I've still got the aesthetic, but I didn't finish. I just didn't bother finishing. And I don't like that aspect to it. I want it to look neater than that. So what I'm going to do is just add in some lilies to go to either end. Now the reason I'm not placing them at the top, and I could absolutely place them at the top, which would look super pretty, but the reason I'm not is because for me, I'm suddenly getting too busy. My card's getting too busy. There's too much going on. And it's an easel, so I don't want too much. So I'm working with that principle of being bottom heavy. So I'll just place a little bit, place it to the side. Same again on the other side. I love these lilies. But notice that I'm not putting any dimension on them. I want them to lay flat. Place them over and to the side. Okay, so now I'm just in this horrible cacophony of mess at the bottom. I wouldn't be able to send that as a card maker. I'd feel like it wasn't finished, and it's important to me to have it all kind of neatened up. So that's why I bring the rose in, not least because of the colour and the fact that it's so gorgeous. What I don't want with the rose is to have the little extra piece for the locket kind of thing. I want to get rid of that because to me that's just going to create even more mess, and that's not something that I'm looking into because I'm not using them as charms. So I'm just going to snip that away, go in with the ball tool as we did yesterday. So for this one I'll just work around the edges and work into the center point, but bear in mind with this I could do each petal individually and just work around, but it's up to you which way you play. But it's so pretty, that rose. There's something really extraordinary about it. So we're going to work round, always on the outside, break your fibres and just keep going. The longer you can break your fibres for, the easier you're going to find it to work towards the centre. So once I've done that, I've done my second pass. So we're working in a spiral towards the middle and then right to that centre point. And if you really want to push that message home, you can go to the next ball tool, the size down, and just really work the centre. And that will really push that indent. It depends how you want to sculpt. Then I'm going to go in with pin flare. Now the dome that I've got on my rose is large. Can you see that? It's quite an excessive dome, and I like that. And the reason that I've gone for that excessive dome is because I've got so much working on the outside of this, I want to pull my rose inwards. So the more the doming that I make, the sort of neater in it goes, it tucks itself forward. So I'm just going to fill that space with some pin flare, plenty of it, and build it. And just push that so that I've got that little pinch there. Look how pretty that is. And then of course we finish our easel card. So by finishing we're working for the center. Now I said to you earlier, when I'm doing something that is very shall we say, oh, I haven't stuck those down, Miss Taz. I was just thinking, why are they looking so flippy about? Let's just quickly shape some. I'll just very quick with my shaping, but I do want a little bit of dimension. I'm going to work on these and I'm going to bring the wings forward this time. Yesterday I took them back. Today I'm going to bring them forward. So I'm going to work from the front and I'm not touching the body. I'm just touching the wings. What that's doing is bending the paper here, and it will just allow those wings to dome. Can you see the wings are doming forward and the body stays flat? So these are different tricks that we use. It's the same as using valley folds and mountain folds on a piece of paper. It's the same trick. So we're bringing them forward instead of back, and I'm going to do the same with the dove tail. And I'm leaving that wing exactly where it is because the bird is essentially in flight. So that's one done. And then bring this one. You can see the difference, can't you, how we get that curvature, that beautiful shadow that plays at the top of this wing. So it's same again this way. And just bringing it down so that curve comes in. So we would consider this essentially a valley sculpt. Same around the tail. Beautiful, right? Keeping the body flat. I'm not doing anything with the body. Normally I would shape it out. For this I don't need to, but I am going to pin flare. So I'm raising because any shadow with a bird in flight is going to be powerful. But the bird's wing that I haven't shaped is where my pin flare is going. Can you see? So I've pulled it round on that wing. That's going to raise him, but make sure that he is absolutely where I want him to be. I think I like him there. Just come into the bottom of that broken heart piece that I can see. That's not stuck down either. Miss Taz, half a job bob today, I tell you. Let me just place some of this on here. Not too much on the heart. I want the dove to sit more proud than the love heart. So I can afford to put less on there. You see how he sits proud? He's forward from that. Same again with that wing, the flat piece. That's where my pin flares go in. That's where I'm raising. And I'll sit him so they're almost kissing. Look at those beautiful wings. They're so gorgeous, those doves. They're so pretty. Once we've got, look at that. Isn't that so gorgeous, that curvature that comes forward, that gorgeous dimension that we get from Carnation. I'm just going to take the back off this. Now what I did with the heart for my stopper, because I wanted it to be fairly high, I've got 3mm foam tape on the bottom. I've added another heart. I've got 3mm inside. You can just see it there. And then I've got my little heart that's just stuck on with a little bit of 3mm as well. So we've got that little bit of dimension. A up. And then we're just going to lift on that mechanism, if I can get hold of it, and pull it. Now because it's very bottom heavy, my card, I'm going to leave it laying quite chilled out at the bottom here, not too high. If I pull it straight up, all I've got is that curvature, but I'm losing something, so I'm going to pull it slightly down, not too far, but slightly down. So it's a bit more chilled out. Pop that centrally, just in the middle, and then just to finish that bottom plate. Now if I was to be sending this to somebody, I will say that what I would do on the inside of that card, just behind that stopper here, is put a white piece of card so that I could write a message on it, but it would be hidden by the principal aspect of the card. So it's an option for you, but it means I could write freely. You could put a little note in there instead if you so chose. So tiny bits of glue on these corner elements, because I'm just going to bring in that love heart, add a little bit of detailing on that Hessian, not too much. I am all fingers and thumbs this morning. And just place through. And then because I've got the mirrored vignette, I can oppose that at the other side. I could do it at the top. So just, isn't that pretty? It's wherever you want it to be. I'm doing it at the bottom because obviously my stopper's there and I want that to be my main focal point. So just making sure I've got this in the right way. Little bits of glue. Nothing too excessive. And we're about there. Place that down and push up. And now we have a really simple but really beautiful, almost fairy tale easel card. So when I turn that round to the front and you see it as you would see it if you were looking at it as the recipient, look how pretty that is. It's such a gorgeous collection, guys. I'm almost jealous that you're getting it for the first time and that you're going to be playing with it for the first time, because that moment when you start printing off the vignettes and you start cutting out the dies and you've got all of this just kind of beauty sitting in front of you and you can play and you can bring in all of those elements, that moment is so special and so precious with Carnation, and this collection is just stunning. You're going to have the best time. So this is the Held in Our Hearts collection. You will find it on the Carnation Crafts website under the code 221101. It has a show price of £99.99, and the normal price for that will go back up to £135.92. It's free P&P in the UK, and you can find it on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. If you are purchasing anything from the show today, please do use the code HIOH10, so HIO10, and do it all in capitals. It'll give you 10% discount across the whole of the Held in Our Hearts collection. My brain went then. I was trying to do two things at once. Does that cover you for the Hessians as well, that code? It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can add it in your basket
as a whole.
Papers.
So if you put everything together, so if you put the Held in Our Hearts collection, the Hessian Edge collection, and the Perfect Papers, which would be a show price of £244.97, it would be a lot more if it was all at full price though, right, Taz? And then if everything was full price, it would be a lot more than that. So then it removes £24.50 if you use the code HIOH10. And that takes it down to £220.47, free shipping and free UK P&P, but you're also going to be able to split that into 4 payments if you're using ClearPay of £55.12, or you're going to be able to do it in 3 payments of £73.49 on PayPal Pay in 3. So it makes it much more palatable. Have we got time for another demo?
Yeah, I was just thinking. So you know, it's when you say hi-oh.
Hi-oh, hi-oh.
Yeah, it sounds like
it's off to it we go with a shovel and a pick.
That marks Snow White.
I don't think I'm allowed to talk on that conversation, because I might say that he's a dwarf, and I would not say that he is grumpy. No, I would not. I hope he's not watching, because otherwise I might not see you ever again. No. Mark is Prince Charming. Did I say the right thing? Was he in Snow White, Prince Charming? I don't know. I don't know my fairy tales very well. All right, so we're going to make another card here, and we've got a larger panel here with a score at 1/2 inch, and we've got your red liner tape sitting there, and then I'm going to start bringing in different panels. Look how pretty they are. Now, I did piece these together before we came on air because I've got the 3 sets. Now, the reason that I did that, and it's something that I struggle with, I'm not going to lie, I struggle with them a lot, and I'm not sure why I struggle with them so much. When I'm making a card and I want to have something that has got a side panel for it, so for instance, that, and now obviously I'm going to have a bigger piece of card there, but just say it was that, and that was my opening to my card. It means I need my score line down here. So where this would normally be an 8x8 card, I've actually made it 8 by 1/2 inch. So that I've got my little score line and it's separate, because otherwise I struggle, and I don't know why, but I do, and it confuses me when I'm trying to do my mats and layers. So I always work that side first, then use my actual panel to make my mats and layers. So I did that, and I stuck them together so that I could explain that to you. But all it is one of the blue Perfect Papers, the lighter blue Perfect Papers, and then one of those gorgeous backing papers. These backing papers, this one specifically, they do have a right and a wrong way, because you can see the love heart from the collection just sitting there, and that's obviously the right way around. Otherwise, all of those are going to be upside down. So the first thing I'm going to do predominantly is stick that down just to make sure I've got it in place before I go any further. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to battle with the piece that's hanging over the edge and try and do the two at the same time. I very nearly put that upside down after just telling you there's a right way and a wrong way. So I'm just going to place that. I'm trying to work out if I'm central. I'm about right, I think. I can't lean over. So we're roughly about right there, okay? Look how pretty that is. It's like a summer's day, isn't it? That's like looking out to sea. It's so pretty. So then what I've done is I've got this, which is essentially another card. It's just a piece, and it's scored down the centre. And I'm going to use that as kind of my base, all right? So I can place it here, and I'm going to fold that back on itself, okay? And that's just going to allow me to have kind of an over the edge. So I'm going to take this, take it off, pull it to the edge of my mat and place this side just at the same spot and pull it down. And that's going to lay my card base exactly where I want it to be. Make sure this is scored really, really well. You want it to sit back as much as it can. So I did spend a fair whack of time just with a scoring tool, just burnishing that line, just to make sure it's exactly where I want it to be and it stays fairly flat. By the time I've got my mats and layers onto here, which I've got just, look how pretty that is. By the time I've got those sitting, that'll weigh it down. So that'll work just perfectly for me. Now the reason I wanted the two is that when it opens, I want it to kind of sit with that Z fold that's just sitting there. It just looks pretty to me. So I'm just going to place, now I'm going to work in the same way, but when I'm doing my mats and layers, I've got to have it landscape. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's an everybody thing or if it's just a me thing, but I've got to work landscape. And am I about right, Taz? So, I can't see on the screen, Miss Taz. You've got to be my eyes and ears. Did I just call you Taz? Did I?
It's like I've been demoted.
So, I'm using that gorgeous Hessian diamond here. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? Just a really gorgeous contrast between those blues and whites. So this is how we start to bring in all of those different kind of elements here. Now, if you wanted to, with a card that is this shape, in the way that I've worked it, mine's going to sit, I think, like this. I don't know yet, but if you want to, obviously you would need to change that round. You can actually use this as a card front kind of that way, and it will sort of sit in that way as well. You'd need to just make sure you've got something at the back which will hold that back panel, but that's one of the ways that we can start to create different shapes. Now, if I was to do that, can I borrow front facing for 2 seconds, Taz? If I was to then place that on there, so you can see that edging, can you see how that would start to come together? Yep, just that way. So different ways of playing with these shapes, but you will need just a little stopper at the back just to stop that from falling backwards, just to let you know. All the different ways that we play. Now I'm just going to bring in a tiny amount of wet glue just on one side of this diamond. I'm not too worried about doing the tiniest of amounts because it's not going to squidge out. It's a solid piece. Turn that, and I'm going to try and find my central point as best I can. And now I do struggle on the overhead, so I apologise if it's not perfect. And just make sure that adhesion works. I think that's stunning already. I think that's the thing with Carnation. We talk about the perfect papers. Never forget to put your perfect papers in your basket, because when we look at the contrast that comes through with your backing papers, which are designed to match in with the collection, and then you've got your contrasting tones and just bring in a white as well. That's so pretty to me. There's something very delicate about that, very, very sweet. Now, what I am going to do is just use one of these in that dark, look at that, in that darker tone, just to create some drama in the middle of this piece, in the middle of that diamond, and it fits perfectly in the center of that diamond. It's so perfect. So I'm just going to go in again with a little bit of wet glue here, just a small amount on that back panel. I am going to put some on each edge just to make sure they don't lift when they're in transit, just to take care of everything all at once. Down that center point. No effort at all. We create the most gorgeous drama in that card, don't we? It's just so pretty, right? And it's just how we play. It's just bringing in the different shapes. And this is why nested dies will always be your most important dies. Nested dies are the things that allow us to change the way we normally make cards. So if I was to just have that without that diamond, yes, it would still be pretty, but that drama that comes in by using an extra diamond on the side just creates a completely different looking card. And I think that's invaluable. So I've got my little doves. I've got some foliage, bits and bats, and you can see here I've got a naked dove and a dove with a towel on. So I've got both there that I can play with. Now, what I can do here is one of two things. I can snip that foliage away, and I can have both as we had them before on opposing sides of that, and those dove's wings would come out on that diamond. So when the recipients got the card, you would open with that dove, and I think that is so pretty. Now I'm not going to do that in today's demo because I have done that a couple of times in demo already, but isn't that gorgeous with that shaping there? Really sweet. But I'm going to not do that for good reasons. So what I'm going to do is use this as a whole piece, and I'm going to use it in the corner. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do, is just place that down. I'll do it with a bit of pin flare just for speed. And I'm going to place. Don't need too much shadow lift there at all, but very, very pretty. And then what I'm going to do is just shape out this one a little bit, not too much, but just lift those wings. So the same process that we did before. So just bringing that ball tool in. That ball tool's a little on the large side. Let me just go down one. And then raise that through. Break those fibres and bring that down. Same again with the tail feathers. So everything curves upright in the same way we did last time. And I'm going to decoupage him. That flat body piece. Now I can't decoupage by using the wings that I've just raised, otherwise they're going to go straight back down. So I'm still using that flat body element in order to decoupage. Raise him up. Now if I was feeling a little bit adventurous, I could cut this for a third time and add an extra wing in to really sort of start to protrude it. But I think already that looks incredible, that shadow play that just comes over this edge. So that should all settle and be where I need it. Did I stick that one down, Miss Taz? Did I make it up in my head? Let me just put a little bit of adhesive on here so I know that it's settled in. A little bit at the top, and then I know I'm structured. Now if that's the only piece of glue that I put in there, it should theoretically still be enough. We don't need a lot of glue. Just get him into place. Look how pretty that is. It's so, so gorgeous, this collection. I love it so much. Now, I've got elements that I can play with here, and I've got things that I can do. Now, the first thing that I can do is, where I've got that, I can shadow it up at the top. So I've got the two pieces coming in, and I think that looks super pretty. I'm less likely to do that because there's so much now going on at this side that I'm more inclined to either put it at the bottom so it mirrors, or more likely put it at the top so that I've got that symmetry. When we're creating composition wise, it's always good to have that line that cuts through the center, and that's where I'm going to go with it, just to give me that line, that mirror line. And there's something about it, it's something to do with maths, and I can't remember what the whole rule was, but when we're working in this way in composition, that diagonal line that we do through the center has something to do with the way the human eye reacts to some kind of mathematic equation, and I can't remember what the ruling is, but there is very good reason why we work in that structure. Doesn't mean we can't add other things in, but it does mean that out to the human eye, it's incredibly pleasing to have something opposing. And I don't know, I can't remember what it is, but there is a rule. There's a rule, Miss Taz. And then I'm just going to take these two little elements, I'm going to try and feed that through there, so I've got my charms sitting together. And again, when we're looking at these composition wise, if I look at my foliage piece hanging off my lily, what that gives me is a really beautiful hint of that lily coming through. Or if I want to make that my showstopper, then that sits on top and that complements it. So again, different ways of playing. Same pieces, but different ways of playing. And all I'm going to do, little bit of glue just on the edge of that lily, right at the bottom, just so it sticks to the piece at of the foliage. Now, I can bring that down in the corner, and again we're mirroring, and I think that's super pretty, but it leaves me naked down here. And if I put this butterfly down here, yes, it will give all four corners, but we're starting to look like a doctor's waiting room. Everybody's sitting around the edge of the room, and that's not necessarily how I want it to play. So I can put the butterfly in the middle to give my sort of finish process, which I am going to do because I love it very much sitting in that little box, but it still leaves me with something going wrong here because I've got too much going on in the other three corners. So composition wise, what I do is take that to the foliage at the top end and I bring it in and I leave my two corners exactly where they are. Now I'm just going to stick this down as is. What I've got here is, and before I stick it, I'll just talk to you about those charms. If I stick it right in that corner, I'm still going to have the problem that I had before, which is where I feel I need to cover up those charms because they're going to look messy. However, if I take it higher so that they're purposeful, there becomes a reason to have them and they're not quite as messy. You see, it looks like the charm. So it's just about how we bring those in and how we bring them together. So the last element then is the butterfly. Now, if I was to have put those lower and there was no reason for them, I could cover them with the butterfly. Okay, and it still looks super pretty, right? That's absolutely gorgeous. But I do want this butterfly just to take itself into center stage. A little bit of glue, pokey tool, into the center, push down, let his wings free so that they're brought forward. Look at that. And that, my friends, is the Held in Our Hearts collection from Carnation Crafts. So I'll just turn that around so that you can see it. The impact of this collection is extraordinary. Everything about this collection is extraordinary. The colours, the tone, the message that it sends in the time where we least want to sort of send those cards, and obviously when we least want to receive them, but to have something that is so gentle and sends exactly the right message. However, that could be, again, birthday, wedding, nothing about that smacks of sympathy. It has that element that we can use for it, and that's important to have in our arsenal. I hope you really enjoyed today's show. Taz and I will be back with you tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and it will be a composition show. So we will be working with those 8x8s. Get your 8x8s cut and come and craft with me, and we'll have a look at composition as a whole. And until then, take really good care of yourselves. Be safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.